I know the wax isn't even off the menorahs yet, but I'm thinking about Purim. Part of it's because the staff at NCJC is already planning our Purim festivities, but part of it is because of looking at this week's Torah portion of Mikketz. At the beginning of our Torah portion, Pharaoh has some very startling and confusing dreams. None of his advisors or magicians can interpret them until finally someone remembers Joseph, who's still languishing in prison, and his talent for understanding dreams. Joseph is brought to Pharaoh's court, and Pharaoh says, "So you're the guy? You can explain my dream?" And Joseph says, "God will be the one to explain your dream and reveal its meaning." After listening to the dream, Joseph explains that a famine is coming, and then adds the wonderful advice, "We should stock up now. You should set aside food while the harvest is good for the years when the harvest will be bad." Pharaoh is so taken by Joseph's commitment to God and by his good advice, he says, "You're going to be my guy." He takes the signet ring off of his finger and puts it on Joseph. He dresses Joseph in royal finery, and he has him paraded through the streets in a chariot. It's really hard to read that passage without thinking about someone else who had similar occurrences. Mordecai, in the book of Esther, after he foils the plot to assassinate the king, is dressed in royal finery and paraded through the streets. And then, when he and Esther defeat the evil Haman, King Ahasuerus takes his signet ring and puts it on Mordecai, making him the second most important man in all of Persia, just as Joseph became the second most important man in all of Egypt. So what is it that unites Joseph in Egypt and Mordecai in Persia? First of all, they are some of the only characters who live in the Bible, in the Tanakh, outside of the land of Israel, not living under the control of a Jewish nation and Jewish country with Jewish rules all around. Instead, they are already spread in the diaspora, but they become successful. And how do they do it? By being connected to their Judaism, by being outwardly proud of who they are as Jewish people. Joseph, who refuses to take credit and instead relies on his connection to God as the source of his success. And Mordecai, who refuses to bow down to Haman as a display of his Jewish values and who he is as a Jewish person. The two of them are able to succeed in the societies in which they are a part, not by hiding their Jewishness, not by suppressing it, but by living it loudly and proudly. So while we put our Chanukiot away, we've spent the last week lighting them up, putting them in the windows, putting them on social media, showing the world how proud and happy we are to be Jews. Well, once Hanukkah is over, how can we continue to do that? What is one way that you will continue to be outwardly and proudly Jewish? Because when we can do that, we can meet with the same success as Joseph and Mordecai, and we too can then have God's blessings.